Hello and welcome to our webinar, The Fix for 1,000 False Alarms. Thanks for joining us today. Just before we get started, I just want to do a few housekeeping bits. You'll notice that there is a chat function in the webinar software. So if you want to ask us a question, pop it in there and we'll get to as many as we can at the end of the webinar and follow up afterwards if we don't get to yours. So I'm delighted to introduce our panelists for today's session. We have Carl Nicholson from Synaptek, Trent Fitz from Zenoss, and Dan Kennedy from Workato. So guys, I'll hand over to you to do a bit more of an introduction. Thanks.
Great, thanks, Suzanne. So yeah, my name's Dan Kennedy. I'm VP Enterprise Architecture for Workato. Workato is the leading enterprise automation platform. So we're really focused on being a low-code integration and automation platform, helping to really connect your applications across the ecosystem. And we're really looking to be a bit of a game changer in this space where, you know, the focus is on really enabling the faster time to market and faster ability to build and execute on these integrations and automations. So we're looking to enable a much broader audience. So it's no longer just that one person in IT who can build these integrations and automations. It's really starting to expand that base so that more people with more expertise can start building integrations and automations for their organization. And yeah, really excited to be here, and I'll turn it over to the next presenter.
Thanks very much, Dan. Hello, everybody. I'm Carl Nicholson, and I'm the Chief Information Officer of Synaptek. Firstly, I'd like to thank you both for joining us on this webinar today. It's pretty cool from my perspective to be on a call with you. Without getting too much of a love-in, I have to say it's really awesome to be working with two really innovative companies, both in the form of Zenoss and Workato. In many ways, we were inspired to do what we did with your approach to tech and the way that you want to kind of change the industry. A little bit about Synaptek in general. We're a digital innovation business born out of an IT managed service company called Spherica. Essentially, we used to look after servers and things, and we knew, and as is now the case, that automation is the future. And there will come a point where we will no longer build everything by hand and do everything in terms of manual process. And actually, we needed to diversify into linking systems together to enable workflow automation between them. And as things have proliferated further, AIOps comes into play, but I'm not going to steal Trent's thunder, and I'm going to let him explain that to you shortly. We've been in business just over a year now, and I'm very proud to say we're a very successful business in the first 12 months. We've got quite a broad customer base, everything from retail, transport, and now even the financial services industry. And essentially, all we want to do, and I say it sounds like a small task, we're on a mission to link people, processes, and applications to get work done. And it really is as simple as that. However, achieving that isn't quite as simple as it sounds, and we'll talk about that later. Thank you very much. Over to you, Trent.
Thanks very much, Carl. I'll use this graphic to help talk through what Zenoss does. We started as an IT infrastructure monitoring company and have evolved into what we call full stack monitoring and AIOps. And what you can see from this graphic is we collect all of these data types on the left. So it originally started as just collecting metrics. We evolved into collecting metrics in what we call model data. That gives us the topology of how all of the systems are interconnected. And then in the past couple of years, we've added event data, log data, streaming data, and this enables us to collect data from all of the systems from top to bottom. That then enables us to feed machine learning algorithms to perform AIOps and leverage those capabilities to really do four things for our customers. And that is provide immediate root cause analysis when there are issues, to prevent IT disruptions so we can recognize when things are going wrong and take action before any business service is actually affected. And then we can optimize application performance. That's the third thing. And then the last one is intelligent automation. And so as we take all of the insights that we discern, we can then feed these to other ITOM systems in the ecosystem. And that's what we're here to talk about today. We're really excited about the advancements we're making through this partnership in automation, and that's what today is all about.
Thanks very much, Trent. I'm going to take you through some of the numbers now as to why us three companies work so well together, and I think it's fair to say that the stats really speak for themselves. So what I've taken is Zenoss's numbers. So to start with, Zenoss, once implemented, see an 85% improvement in mean time to resolution. So for those of you who aren't aware of what that language really means, essentially an 85% improvement from when something breaks to when it's fixed or no longer an issue, which is pretty impressive in my opinion. They see a 99.99% reduce in alert noise and event storms. And this is massive because one of the issues we have as IT people is when something breaks in the old world, we get an absolute flood of alerts and things we have to try and wade through to try and understand where the problem really is. So in my opinion, one of Zenoss's USPs is the ability to cut through that noise and immediately tell us where the problem is and where we should be looking to try and fix it. And last but not least, a 70% improvement in ITOM systems automation. And I have to say, those stats are pretty impressive in themselves. However, when we bring Workato into play, and we'll talk about how that fits into the puzzle slightly later on in the presentation, along with Synaptek's ML model and our operations suite of our Robonaut platform, things get even better. We see 185% improvement in mean time to resolution, which is nuts. And also on the automation side, we see an increase in systems automation of 220%, which is absolutely amazing. And we'll discuss shortly why that's so important.
Okay, thanks guys, brilliant introduction. So just wanted to not to have death by PowerPoint really, so we're going to take this into a little bit of a chat session. And the first, we want to basically cover this off with a couple of questions. So the first one being a big one. Why are organisations facing the biggest business continuity challenge? Dan, can I start this one with you?
Absolutely, yeah, no, you're right, that is the big question. But you know, ultimately, I think what this comes down to is that nowadays every business is a technology business. So you know, those days of having a few core applications that are only used by a few different business units, those days are gone, right? We're seeing, you know, pervasive explosion of SaaS applications, and you can pick any business unit or business function in any business, and I challenge you to find one that's not dependent on technology today. So that's really where the challenge comes in, is now when there's a technology problem, when there's an outage, it can affect everyone, absolutely every corner of your organization, and things can grind to a halt. So with that kind of, you know, explosion of SaaS, the other issue we're seeing is you can no longer draw a nice, you know, clean line around your servers and data and applications. Now that data and the servers and the applications are spread everywhere. You have SaaS apps, you have your IaaS, infrastructure as a service servers, you have on-premise, and now in the situation we're in now, even your users are spread all over the place. You know, you've got your employees connecting in from home and from every which place. So that ecosystem is now completely diverse, and it adds, you know, 100 new variables that need to be dealt with and considered when you want to keep your business running and keep your business stable and operational. And Carl, Trent, what's your thoughts there?
Yeah, I have to say, I completely agree. I think that the days of being able to draw a nice, neat line around IT in its own little silo is very much gone. And in fact, getting a full view of your entire stack is harder than ever, in my opinion. And without that full view, how can we keep this stuff up and running and service our customers? So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree on what you said.
I also agree, and just to add on to the points that you made, I mean, we've learned in the past 6 months or so that this is not just a thing where we get through the pandemic and COVID-19 and the impact of that remote workforce. That what I think businesses have learned is they have to be ready for change, that they have to be ready for whatever comes next. And the uncertainty is driving them to innovate and put more focus on business continuity. And because, as you said, every business is now a technology business, and it's not just that, computer infrastructures are there to support businesses. This is really the heart of most businesses, most modern businesses today. And so when you're focused on business continuity, you have to ensure that the IT aspect of that is 100% tight and no changes. Like the mentality now is we have to be ready for the unexpected, not just be ready for the next time there's a remote workforce. And so it's really building systems and processes that are not built to last. It's building systems and processes that are built for change.
Yeah, I have to say, I mean, I don't want to turn this into the COVID-19 digital transformation podcast, but I think you're right. And I think when you observe the companies that are nimble, agile, can easily change things, I think that's more important than ever, because those that are like that and structured like that have found the transition to remote working, etc., easier than those that have had to, provision new systems and roll stuff out and suddenly have a distributed workforce that they've never had before. And like you say, almost preparing for uncertainty is kind of the way we need to be in tech. And it kind of ties into all this, SaaS stuff, whereby we need the ability to quickly change direction. And the old world and the old way of doing things with infrastructure, servers and products, it doesn't wash, it doesn't move quick enough anymore, and we can't respond as quickly as we'd like to. So yeah, it's more important than ever, isn't it?
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, guys. We also hear all the time that customer experience is the only real differentiator in businesses today. So what does that mean from an IT ops point of view? Carl, I think I'll throw this one out to you. You had some interesting stats to share on this as well.
Yeah, it follows on from what we were just saying, really, I guess. I mean, I view IT operations as almost the underlying plumbing that runs your business. And if you've got poor plumbing, then you've got a poor water supply to your house, which no one enjoys. But it's the ability to have a really good infrastructure or plumbing, but also, like Trent was just saying, the ability to change it quickly. And I think that's one of the hardest things to try and achieve if you're coming from sort of a cold start of the old world. Stats-wise, I researched this the other week for my Galaxy presentation, and I was actually quite surprised. I knew that IT outages cost companies a lot of money, but I was actually stunned when I found the stats from Gartner that said, on average, it costs $5,600 per minute. And it takes, again, on average, 6 people to fix an infrastructure issue with a business. And obviously that's across the board. So some's going to be worse, some's going to be better, but that's crazy. And it's also a little bit scary to me as somebody who runs a business. The thought of losing, $5,000 a minute is mad and could potentially be business ruining. And I think in the age of Uber and everything's on demand, I think our consumers are wanting things from us faster and more reliable than ever before, and we can't afford to have our $5,000 a minute infrastructure outage. Our customers will just go elsewhere. So to me, as a business leader, I've got to invest in this stuff. I've got to make sure stuff works. I've got to make sure we've got really great plumbing, and I've also got to make sure I can change that plumbing quickly, so I can adapt to the changing worlds, both in terms of customer demand, but also international pandemics and whatever else the world or the market can throw at me. And I think getting yourself to that position is what we as IT leaders need to be evangelizing and helping people, because it's not easy and it's not straightforward, and every business is different. So yeah, I don't know what you think, guys.
Yeah, I totally agree, and further to what you said there, I think it's that bar of expectation that's raising constantly for the IT ops teams, right? So you talk about the new workforce that's coming in. They were raised on Google and all the latest Uber technologies and so on, and so their expectations is that there are 0 outages, that everything is always on, always available. And so in order to recruit and keep that kind of that talent within your organization, your IT ops organization has to meet that expectation, right, and ensure that services are always on. So that's kind of another aspect I'm seeing coming into play here.
I guess in many ways, to follow on, it's sorry, Trent. In many ways, that infrastructure, that plumbing has got to be seamless. And I guess if we do it well, it is seamless. We never know it's there. And if it breaks, we don't want to know it's broken. We just want to get our service. And architecting systems with that in mind is key, I think. Sorry, Trent, go on.
No, I was just going to add on to that, when we have our ongoing conversations with CIOs, one of their key concerns is customer experience, and everybody cares about customer experience, but in this, in the modern era, that poor customer experience almost immediately results in customer churn. That there are too many in digital business, it's too easy to go to the next competitor. You guys mentioned Uber. If I go to look for an Uber to summon a car and it's not responsive, I go to Lyft. I go to the other one. And it's the same for shopping online. It's the same for Netflix and every competing online media option. That poor IT systems and processes that result in poor customer experience. It means immediate customer churn. There have been analysts' statements about every minute that Amazon is down or unresponsive. I think it's every second that of delay that Amazon experiences cost them $1 million, something on that order. This is extremely expensive and impactful to these digital businesses when IT operations is not delivering the best customer experience that they can.
And I guess the difficulty with somebody like Amazon and Uber is scale and the fact that it changes in demand. I'm sure Amazon, I don't know when it's at its most busy, perhaps on a Saturday morning, perhaps, I don't know, but it's making something scalable that can quickly adapt to that need. And it's one of the things we're quite passionate about, and it's that data-driven business. So what does the data tell us? Well, the data tells us we're busiest at this point, so we need to make sure we have provision ready before the demand hits, and that kind of predictive, it ties into the stuff that Zenoss do, I guess, with all that AIOps predictive methodology. And if you haven't got that, how on earth can you possibly respond? You're having to do everything retrospectively, and in Amazon's case, losing your $1 million a second, which is just nuts.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, you've covered quite a few of these bits here, I think, but is there anything else, Trent, I'll throw this one out to you, that you think is preventing businesses from being more agile? The big things.
Yeah, I think the overarching thing that we see is the desire to be agile is almost always just driven by the ability to move faster. And really what that means is the ability to increase the rate of change. And inherent in this is an increase in risk. And so we want to move faster almost always translates to we're introducing risk into the environment. And so that's been the balancing act that CIOs have faced. And so when they can find a way to move faster without increasing their risk, that removes the biggest barrier to the entire process. And so instead of hiring more people and adding more systems for traditional resilience and just scaling everything for redundancy, can they find more innovative and intelligent ways to keep risk down as they increase the rate of change in their environments?
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys
I guess in many ways, Trent, as well, it's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. So as we have to become more agile and we have to introduce new technologies, perhaps outside of our own on-premise data center or whatever, our IT environment then becomes more complex, introduce even more risk. So, okay, we can adapt to customer demand, but actually now the thing we have to look after, the machine that runs our business, is now in 12 different places across the world instead of in that data center over there type thing. So yeah, it's a minefield.
Yeah, and when we talk about agility, ultimately I think this is historically you could build these applications and the infrastructure to be kind of build it once and it runs the same way for 10 years, but now the business is throwing a new change, a new demand, pretty much every day, and so that's a new way of thinking about how you build these solutions as well. Is they have to be built in such a way where you can very quickly pivot and make a change to that solution. And I think with with the introduction of CI/CD and DevOps and so on, we're seeing a lot of that now. So, but you know, to Trent's point, it's all about that balance of being able to rapidly change, but still maintaining that governance, that control, and making sure that there's not the introduced risk to the environment when you make those changes.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this is a great point then to hand over to you, Carl, to just take us through the fix.
Thank you very much. My fire's run out, and I'm not sure if that's because my GPU is about to burst into flames on my Mac, or whether we're at the end of the fire video, so I'll move on. If I disappear in a minute, you know why. So we at Synaptek took everything we just discussed really into consideration. We were actually a business that found ourselves with the very problem we were just discussing. So we've got this stuff we need to look after. It's all over the place. Geographically and from a technological point of view as well, all these different pieces of tech we've got to look after. We've got to keep the plumbing working for our clients, and it's getting harder literally by the week. So as businesses move through digital transformation, they're giving us more and more stuff as a business at Spherica that we need to look after and maintain and keep up, because it costs us lots of money if it falls over. So we were challenged internally by Spherica to build something that would enable us to do exactly that, look after all this stuff from wherever, whenever, and keep it up. And would like to share that with you now. We called it Robonaut, and we called it Robonaut because we leveraged the AIOps parts of Zenoss with the workflow automation from Workato, with our own ML model in tandem with the other ML model that Zenoss provides us, and we'd love to talk about it now. Here's a short video, and then we're going to head into a bit more in depth afterwards. So that's a great video. It's got some funky music. I like it a lot. So let's delve into how this actually works. So as we've already discussed, what we have here is our example company IT operations environment. And this is actually a really good example of what a modern infrastructure looks like. So we've got quite a lot of stuff here. So this company, I would say, albeit fictitious, is very well geared up. They've got sort of dynamic systems that are able to spin up and spin down to serve their customers and provide us that great plumbing. But it's highly complex. And one of the issues we have with this complexity is our ability to monitor it. So typically, we would have systems that monitor these other systems in isolation. So for instance, we might have something that's looking after Kubernetes, something else that's looking after our Azure environment, or something else that's looking after our VMware environment, or Docker, or whatever. And this is an issue because when we have an outage, as we've already discussed, depending on the scale of our business, if it's Amazon, it's a several or £1 million a second, I think we said. So every second quite literally counts. But in certain environments, in certain examples in this picture, you can see that there's quite a lot of overlap. So if we have a problem in a certain place, there might be 3 or 4 different systems we've got to jump through to try and find out where our problem is. Also, to add more complexity, this might be geographically diverse. We might have kit spread out quite literally across the world. It could also potentially be within data centers or clouds that we don't own or maintain. So we could have platform problems as well, just to bring that into play. And as you can imagine, for your average operations team, you've got to kind of deal with all that stuff. And as we've already discussed, downtime's not really an option. We've already said as well that it takes 6 full-time employees on average to fix a problem. And we're wasting money every single second that something isn't working. So how do we address this, and how do we make this better with the Robonaut? So firstly, we bring in Zenoss. So we have an issue, and the issue's here. But what Zenoss tells us is actually the root cause of the problem is over here, which is pretty amazing in itself. And it's where this AI modeling and Zenoss's ML really helps us out to pinpoint the issue quite literally within seconds, which is pretty impressive within itself, which is why we as Synaptek chose to partner with them, because we think this is really impressive. So what do we do with this actionable information that Zenoss has passed to us, and how does that fit in with Workato? Well, let's look at that now. So this is the diagram we used earlier, where Trent explained that Zenoss uses an an ML model to crunch all this data from multiple systems to understand what's a dependency of what, and therefore what's the root cause of a problem when we have it. What Synaptek then does is take a stream of this information so that when something breaks, the Synaptek platform reaches back into Zenoss and has a conversation with it, asking it things like, how long has this been down for? Has this happened before? What was the last message you received from this particular platform or system? We then take that information and pass it through our own ML model to add even more information, such as SLA, which customer is affected, what might we do to fix it, which ITSM tool do I need to fire a ticket into, and that enables us to be really agile and use technology to do stuff that sometimes people would have to do. The idea being that the technology can make that decision far faster than a human could. Long story short, means mean time to resolution is shorter. Okay, so where does Workato fit into this story? Well, the answer is here. What we use Workato for at Synaptek is once we've crunched all this data and we've passed it through all these different machine learning models, we then use Workato to do something about it. So that could be as simple as open a ticket within an ITSM platform, or as complex as, actually, can you completely rebuild this architecture for me? Can you go away and spin up 25 servers in Azure, please? And a bit of a sales pitch for Workato, but the reason I like it personally, very quick and easy to do very powerful integrations. And then what do we do with that? Well, we parcel this up and put it all into what we're calling our actual single pane of glass. And we hear this all the time in marketing, but to me, as a network engineer, this is the type of thing I want. I want to know what's broken, where, what's affecting it, as much detail as possible, and what can we do about it. We've also just demoed how our major incident kickoff process could work. But let's delve into this panel here and actually understand what's going on behind this Slack message, because we've all seen network alerts in Slack before, but this one's a little bit more complex. So here we have our message. For this example, and this is just an example, we decided to put it into Slack. We start with Slack because it's simple and easy to develop for, and we like the fact that it puts automation in the hands of everybody and can be triggered from quite literally anywhere without needing a VPN or to carry around your work laptop anymore. You could literally trigger this from your phone, or as things get more advanced, even from your smartwatch, which I think is pretty cool. So what happens next? So we use Zenoss's data that it passed us earlier to provide us this type of information. So what service, what device, what component, what's its physical location, and in this example, what customer, and we decided to put Galaxy, which is pretty impressive. So where does Synaptek come in? So we pass this through our own model to tell us additional information. For instance, we've been able to put some human language understanding. So we've said that based on previous instances of this type, we think that the virtual host is the problem, and therefore we recommend you should do one of these 3 options. We've also then passed this information automatically to the customer's ServiceNow instance. And again, we've used the information from before to populate the ticket. The system has done it for us. At this point, no one's touched anything. We've used Red Hat's Ansible platform just to demonstrate one of the systems, we could use Workato's workflow automation to go and remediate and fix this issue. And we've added in Twilio just to say that, well, we could use another recipe or another workflow to declare a major incident. And again, just to highlight the fact, in this particular example, those three platforms are all using Workato's workflow automation in the background, triggered by the information that Zenoss and the Synaptek system tell us. As I've already pressed upon, this is just an example. So the only two mandatory platforms that you need to make any of this happen is Zenoss and Synaptek, and Workato workflow automation as well. If you think about it, what we're proposing is the exact inverse of the slide we showed you earlier. Instead of having disparate systems and disparate platforms that you have to log into separately, we're bringing everything together into one single view so that we can get things fixed faster. Suze.
Yep. Thanks, Carl. That's good. So I'm just conscious of time. I want to save some time for questions at the end. So I'm just going to ask you guys quickly, what do you think is the future of IT ops? If you could give us your elevator pitch.
Who's going first?
Dive in. Trent, do you want to take that one?
So the future of IT ops, it is, I think, inevitably on a path to merge with DevOps. These have been discrete groups, but the way things are going, as Dan mentioned earlier, CI/CD, DevOps, SRE, it's all about being agile and moving faster. And IT operations staff and IT operations technologies and processes, they don't want to be the dinosaurs of a more static type of infrastructure and paradigm. Everything needs to move faster. Everything needs to be enabled for change. And so what I see in just the biggest picture of it is IT ops evolving to become more agile, which means becoming more like DevOps. And I think these types of functions will merge, and that has to be the mentality of not only the staff but of the CIOs of modern companies.
Yeah, I have to say I completely agree, Trent. Sorry, Suzanne, previously.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying I completely agree, and I think that in my experience, I've already started to see the change whereby DevOps used to go sit in that corner of the office and IT ops were in that corner of the office. And actually now, if you want to be agile and you want to be able to operate in this way that we've discussed that you kind of need to, DevOps and IT ops need to become one and the same. They need to be singing off the same hymn sheet. And I think in my experience, if you can get those two teams to work together, you can develop some really magical stuff. But I'm biased because the Synaptek team is made up of DevOps engineers and IT operations engineers.
Yeah, and so my quick view on this is, I think the future of IT operations is, I'll say, very much in line with what Carl just showed, which is, it's more about starting to think about automation, right? So all of our organizations have a lot of really smart people, but we want those people focused on the things that are really using their brain power and their ability to solve complex problems. So those people aren't necessarily manually restarting services or taking remedial actions that really aren't a good use of their time. So I think automation plays a major role in the future of IT operations to make sure, again, that those IT ops specialists are utilized to their full extent and aren't focusing on tasks that aren't a good use of their time.
Yeah,
I think if we look back to what Trent said earlier, whereby, if we've got to move quickly, it introduces risk. To me, the answer to that risk is automation, because if you're providing automation, it's a known entity. You know what's going to happen and it worked last time. So to me, automation is about reducing that risk while still being able to move quickly and be dynamic. Sorry, Trent, I have a habit of talking over you every time.
So we're in sync. I was just going to say that the whole driver for agility is aligning IT with the business goals. The business has an idea of the current state and the future state, and IT needs to be aligned with that. And that is why agility is a crucial component of it. And that's also why, to just reiterate what you guys are both saying, that this will always be part art and part science, and you need the human beings to do the art part, and you want them focused on that, and you want the machines to do all of the science part, because that's the part that can be automated. And so it's businesses and IT organizations understanding and drawing a distinction between those things, and put your human brains and your best people on the art part, and put the machines on the science part, which is the automation.
I love the art and science analogy there. That's perfect.
Yeah, very true.
It's absolutely brilliant. Thanks, guys. That's fantastic. We've just got 2 minutes left, so I'm going to just pick out 2 questions that come through, and then we'll get back to everybody else in the follow-up. We'll also send out the video, so we will get to you. So the first question here, how do you guys deliver this? Is it a single solution?
Kinda is the answer to that question. So it is a single solution, whereby the section we discussed earlier, whereby we take the information that Zenoss provides us, we put it for our own model, we then provide it into a single pane of glass. From that point forward, it's bespoke. It's as bespoke as you need it to be for your business. So that single pane of glass could be Microsoft Teams, it could be a website, it could be a web app, who knows? And that's where the flexibility with Workato comes in. So as we discussed, we need Workato, we need Zenoss, and we need the Synaptek ML. But after that, the underlying platforms and the things you need to integrate with are customizable based on your business needs. Does that make sense?
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. And let's go for this one. Does this work for cloud and on-premise environments? I think we've touched on this, but if you want to go into any more depth on that.
I'm going to let Dan answer that one, because it's a good opportunity to talk on-prem.
Absolutely, yeah, I can definitely take that one. So the solution definitely works both cloud and on-prem. You know, Workato is a cloud-native solution. So really, you know, focused on the direction the industry is moving, but at the same time, you know, with an understanding that every organization still has on-prem. So the Workato platform has both an on-prem agent as well as, you know, the cloud-native functionality. So this really enables the ability to integrate and automate with both on-premise applications. So if you have those legacy systems or a modern system that's on premise, and you need to take action in that particular application through our on-premise agent, that's fully possible. And then obviously connecting to your full cloud ecosystem also becomes a possibility there. So yes, definitely this operates in a hybrid environment.
And I already know the answers to this, but Trent, can we use a Zenoss on-premise as well as in the cloud?
Yeah, absolutely, and it's part of the value prop is that we started as our own software as an on-prem deployment, and expanded that where now customers consume it as an on-prem platform or a SaaS-based platform. Regardless of which one you choose, they both monitor everything in the cloud and on-prem. So because we sell to large enterprises for the most part, almost every environment that we're in, it's multi-cloud environments plus some on-prem, and I think that a modern solution has to be able to be that versatile.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. That's great, guys. I think that is our time up, so I'm going to call it a day there. Thank you so much. That was a really engaging conversation and a really exciting future. So I will leave it there, and we'll share all the information to follow. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.